Ready? Mm-hmm. Cool. Hello, and welcome to episode 3, season 4 of That Magic podcast. I do enjoy very much that you giggle every time I say hello enthusiastically.
It's more like a nervous giggle.
It's like, oh my god, we're recording.
Because usually I don't know what is going on, and especially that is true of today's show.
Well, yeah, I think today could well become a bit of me talking a lot more.
You can talk.
We're going to talk about music and how music looks at magic and witches and spellcraft and the like, and how it depicts it. Does it actually depict it, or is it just an excuse to use the word to mean something else? And talk about how you feel about someone. Is it all about love spells, that sort of thing? Right? Does anyone actually mean magic when they sing about magic? That sort of thing. So we're going to get into that a little bit.
And a little bit about the magic and the mainstream.
Magic and the mainstream.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And whether magic should be used in corporate environments or not.
All right. Put a dime in the jukebox. Let's go.
All right. See you after the tune that isn't about magic. So, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about music, pop songs, and other types of songs, and how magic or witchcraft may or may not be depicted in them. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, there's a lot of songs.
Right.
A lot of songs. Some purport to be about magic, and often aren't.
Oh, right.
For example, if you were to Google songs about magic and spells and things, you would invariably get top 53 songs about magic. And then it's just a list of songs with magic in the title.
Right.
Which doesn't actually mean they are about magic. Certainly not what we would think of as magic.
So is that what I'm here for? To poo-poo or agree that it is about magic or not?
Yeah, bit of that.
This is going to go horribly wrong.
You're just here so I can talk about music for a bit, I think.
I've not heard any of the songs. I don't even need to see your list.
You have.
Really?
Yeah, literally,
Really?
like the first one, right? The first song. Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police.
The Police. I'm going to have to write some of this down because I won't remember.
I've got a list. But you've heard of that one, right? Mm. Every little thing she does is magic. Mm. Everything she does just turns me on.
Exactly, which makes me think that it's more about that.
It's not about magic at all.
No.
It's not about magic, not even in the slightest. But it will appear on all of those lists.
Okay.
But it is another one of those songs that in retrospect make you think that maybe Sting was a bit of a creepy bastard.
He was. Didn't he write the song about I'm just going to follow you around?
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you do.
Everywhere
you
you
say
go,
it's over.
I'm going to be hanging
not
around in a
over.
bush. I'll be outside your bedroom window while you're sleeping.
And is he the same one that said you're not allowed to work in the sex industry?
Yeah, he did sing that one. He also sang one about a teacher and a pupil. A teacher being all kind of like, oh, don't stand so close to me, it was called, because he's like, I can't.
Blaming the student for his own.
Yeah. And every little thing she does is magic. It very much fetishizes, if that's how you stumbled through the word, the object of his affections, like holding her up onto this pedestal that invariably she won't be able to live up to should they ever get together again. And then he'll resent her for not being this idealistic version of the woman that he'd sung about. So yeah, but not about magic.
It's not about
magic. About magic at all. Right. But that is generally quite the thing. Strange Magic by ELO. Not about magic.
Okay.
It's about love.
Okay.
It's a Kind of Magic by Queen.
Yeah.
Is it? Not sure. Came from the movie Highlander. Is it about immortality? Don't know. But they sing the words a lot.
That's quite magical.
It is quite magical. And the video was quite magical at the time with all of the kind of spooky dooky special effects and animated backing singers and the like.
So Highlander is a bit like Buffy in that there is only one?
No, there can be only one.
That's what I meant.
There's loads of them. There's loads of them.
Like at the end of Buffy.
There should only be one. It's like Buffy in reverse, whereas Buffy starts with one and ends with loads of them.
Yeah.
Highlander, in theory, starts with a lot of them, and then there should only be one, so they go around chopping each other's heads off.
I haven't seen Highlander.
It's got Sean Connery playing a Spanish man, and you can imagine that his accent is incredible, because it's just Sean Connery.
Doesn't sound like a lot of your references really stand the test of time.
It gets worse.
Oh, God.
It gets worse. I will come on to songs about spells and things. We've got 2 songs about spells.
Okay.
One of them the song stands the test of time, but the original performance, absolutely not. No. Oh, God, no.
God's sake.
No. But carrying on about magic. Puff the Magic Dragon.
Isn't that about marijuana?
So lots of people think, but it's actually about the loss of innocence and growing up from childhood where these imaginary things are no longer in your head. You grow up and you leave it all behind and you go to work and it gets rubbish.
I'm pretty sure when I was at middle school, they used to make us sing that in assembly.
Yeah, very, very child friendly.
So weird.
But it's actually quite dark about growing up and losing your childhood innocence and wanting to play with imaginary things. It's not about drugs, although lots of people still think it is definitely about drugs. Yeah. So generally speaking, in my limited research and knowledge, the depiction of magic in music, in popular songs, it's not magic.
No.
It's not about magic at all.
Okay. So this feels like I don't have to say very much and it's going to be a short episode.
Could be.
Great.
But there are some interesting songs out there. So, for example, there's one which I find particularly interesting called Voodoo by a band called Godsmack.
Never.
No, I hadn't heard
Never
of them.
heard of them.
I had not heard of them either. But the lead singer, who is a guy called Sully Erna,
right,
is actually a practicing Wiccan.
And they're singing about voodoo.
Well, this is
sounds problematic.
We'll come on to that, because I do wonder why they chose voodoo as the song title, because it's not really about voodoo per se.
Right.
And the lyrics do seem to be about the healing power of the earth, and like if you go gathering certain types of magical ingredients at certain types of days, that kind of vibe. And the video is very old-fashioned, ritualistic magic kind of stuff. Not voodoo.
No.
But kind of like ceremonial. That's the word I'm looking for. Ceremonial magic, that sort of thing. And it actually has, most interestingly, I thought, in the video, a lady called Laurie Cabot.
Don't know. No.
American witchcraft high priestess. She founded the Cabot tradition of science of witchcraft and the Witches League for Public Awareness to defend the civil rights of witches everywhere.
Okay.
It's a very prominent American-based witch.
She should come on the podcast and
She's
tell us about this.
She is at least in her 90s. She was
we better hurry up
born
then.
in 1933.
Okay.
So we had better hurry up. But so there are things out there. There are some, but I agree with you. I was intrigued by the notion that it was called voodoo when it didn't seem to depict what traditionally is seen as voodoo and stuff like that.
Right.
It was much more ceremonial magic sung by a Wiccan with a high priestess, actual witch in it, and they're inside like a ruined church type thing.
So what have you're describing something visual?
That's the video.
Oh, right.
Video that goes along with the song. And
right.
The lyrics
Okay.
Yeah. So there is that one. That's one of the only ones I've found that's actually about magic. A lot of songs are about love or magic as a means to getting love.
Sure.
That sort of thing. Or just how I feel about someone. So, for example, Black Magic Woman, famously done by Santana, originally done by Fleetwood Mac, is a song about Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac's former girlfriend, because he nicknamed her Magic Mama.
Okay.
So it's not. I was thinking. I was dead on. I was convinced. Black Magic Woman. Yep. Spells, magic. Ooh. No.
Don't people say that Stevie Nicks is a priestess?
Yes, they do.
Because doesn't she really play on that in American Horror Story, the one about the coven?
See, now this American Horror Story is quite interesting, the TV show, because of what it's done to music in some regards. But yes, Stevie Nicks is very much, she uses magical ideas, she uses that kind of mysticalness in it an awful lot. And famously, the Fleetwood Mac song Rhiannon, which she wrote, is very much about a mystical woman flying through the sky. It's got lots of love and things in it, as you would expect, but also apparently Rhiannon herself is based on a character from the novel Triad. Rhiannon is a witch in that and stuff. So yeah, and yes, Stevie Nicks very much, there's a lot of it in songs that she wrote for herself and for Fleetwood Mac. So yeah, so that's one of the few examples where it's kind of in there. And if you start looking at witches rather than magic, there are more examples, but like the general use of magic and spells and things, it's still very much a case of witch for love, that sort of thing. So Frank Sinatra did a song called Witchcraft, and it's about his infatuation with someone. So you must have used witchcraft to make me feel this way, that kind of thing. Small Town Witch by Sneaker Pimps is about loving a woman who's just no good for you and kind of uses you and stuff like that. So again, it's kind of that spell, that hook that she must have in on you is to make you act this way and that sort of stuff. But going back to American Horror Story, so you've got House of the Rising Sun, which is very much seen as it's about a brothel.
Right.
You know, can't leave this house. It's about a brothel because blah, 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 blah. It was used on American Horror Story Coven, and has subsequently people are kind of reinterpreting it to be about a coven or a witchcraft type house type thing, house of ill repute in a different way, if you see what I mean. And that it's all about that kind of side of it rather than the original interpretation, brothel. So yeah, so the way things are used in media, in other forms of media, does reflect how you interpret them. So for example, as well, there's a song that it's not really, I don't think it's really about this. I don't think it's really about magic at all. I just bloody love it. It's a song called City of the Dead by an artist called Uriel. Now, I wrote about this song back in 2014.
Is this a little segue to plug your alphabetbands.com?
This is why I'm talking about music, because I feel slightly more confident. But it's it's about internal struggles, internal emotions, and things like that. But it's gothic in style and tone. There's a lot of Latin kind of chanting-esqueness in it, as well as part of the chorus, which it works really well. And it had, a few hundred plays on it and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, it's not on Dracula Untold. It's not on the soundtrack album, but a lot of people seem to talk about it in reference to Dracula Untold. So I'm not sure if it's a song that's in the film but isn't
on referenced. The soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's got like 50 million plays on Spotify now, so clearly something's happened in the intervening 9 years since I wrote about it. I can't claim influence there. But because of that, people do now associate it with a much more literal interpretation of the lyrics. City of the Dead, Dracula, undead, that kind of gothic storytelling sort of thing, and the kind of the sense of the supernatural. Whereas on its original release or sharing with the world, it was much more about internal struggle. That's how it was interpreted anyway. internal struggle and the problems that the singer was having, the protagonist has with their emotions and things like that. So again, release in a different type of media and association with it affects the way people interpret it and start to draw different connections, which I thought was quite interesting. Also, it's just fucking amazing. It's a really good song. I have listened to it again recently, and it still stands up to how I felt about it 9 years ago. There you go. So
I feel like I can't weigh in here.
no, I mean you said you didn't know any songs, so this is like season 1 where it's just one person talking all the time.
But it is that Magick podcast.
It is that Magick podcast,
not that
music
Alphabet
podcast.
Bands
No.
podcast. I mean, we can set one up for music if you want.
There are songs about magic. There are songs about witches, and one of the reasons this as a topic came into my head is because I remembered a song that my dad used to play when I was little, and I loved it, which was called Alison Gross, and it was by Steeleye Span. And I think one of the reasons I loved it was because the chorus was about Alison Gross. She must be the ugliest witch in the North Country. And it's just this very easy refrain. It's about witches, and my dad scared the bejesus out of me, as you know, when I was young.
That's on the paid for.
That's on the paid for one.
Yeah.
with his stories about witches.
Yeah.
So, I'm afraid you have to pony up to find out about that. But it's a classic ballad, Alison Gross, and it's got kind of like a Beauty and the Beast type feel to it. It's about a witch who casts a spell on a young man because she wants him to love her, and he won't, and turns him. I think she turns him into a dragon or something like that. And the chorus is an addition by Steeleye Span, who are an English folk band, and they do this quite a bit rockier. They did so. There is stuff like that, but it's a negative connotation. It's not a positive one. It's the witch is evil. She's manipulative. She's the ugliest witch in the North Country. All of this good stuff. So music has not generally been that friendly to witches either. Cliff Richard's Devil Woman, again, not friendly, mostly about kind of she must have put some kind of spell on me. But the reason I mention it is because it's brilliantly piss taken out of, pastiched, however you want to describe it, by Flight of the Conchords in one of their TV shows with a song called Demon Woman, which is about a demon woman who has bewitched Jermaine, and he sings about her magical powers and being taken home to meet her familiars and things like that. So it's actually referencing proper witchcrafty type practices and things like that, rather than just, you've put a spell on me and now I'm all dopey and under your control sort of thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
So let me just summarise all of that.
I'm just having a ramble.
It's fine. So I think what you're saying is Magick has been co-opted by the music industry and has made its way more into the mainstream than even TV shows, with the exception of Stevie Nicks, witches are bad.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah.
So do you want me to come back on that?
If you want. There are 2 more songs I just want to talk about quickly.
All right.
Because I did talk about problematic.
Yep.
I Put a Spell on You by Nina Simone. That is not problematic.
Well,
No,
okay.
Nina, it's beautiful. It's lovely. It's very, very famous. It's probably one of the first songs people would think of when you say, name me a song about magic or spells and things like that. And it's lovely.
Why is it not problematic?
Well, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't really compared to what I'm going to talk about in a second.
All right.
Her version of the song is about she has an unfaithful fella. He's cheating on her. He's not good, and she's basically saying, "Right, enough. That stops now. I'm putting a spell on you to stop all of this. you're my man. That's how it goes. It's it is quite dark. It is quite vindictive. It's beautiful. It's so lovely the way it's sung and stuff. But it's unapologetic about what it is as well. The reason I say that's not necessarily problematic is because it's not the original version.
Right.
The original version was by a guy called Screaming Jay Hawkins, which was about putting a spell on his ex-girlfriend to get her back.
Yeah.
When it first got airplay and became famous, it was decided to kind of put the emphasis on the magic side, the spell, pitch it around Halloween, make it a kind of a Halloween-y type song, which resulted in Screaming Jay Hawkins performing this on television, dressed as an African witch doctor with stuff through his nose in like big leopard print type stuff with a plastic skeleton, doing lots of ghoulish laughter in the middle of the song and stuff, and ending it with lots of nonsensical tribal-esque chanting that you would associate with racist tropes. It's not an easy watch these days, and I think it's mostly, aside from the dress and everything, but it's the chanting, it's the kind of the I don't want to do it.
Please don't do it.
No, but it's that kind of stereotypical savage idea of African witch doctors doing their spells and doing chanting in a language that we can't understand, therefore it's gibberish. And it's problematic to say the least. Which is why, by comparison, even though the idea of putting a spell on your man to stop him being an arsehole isn't, because we've talked about compelling someone against their will, that sort of thing. Compared to the original, it's Mary Poppins.
But, okay, so aside from performative choices that perhaps
he may not have made, he may
not have
forced
made
upon him.
choices.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think the dynamic of it being sung by a man also makes it problematic?
Yeah, it makes it that much more oppressive in sense. Yeah. Yeah. But the notion of spells does feature in music a lot as well. And talked about some of the ones, Frank Sinatra's one, "You must have put a spell on me to make me feel this way," that sort of thing. And there's a quite a famous song by the Searchers called Love Potion No. 9, which is about a guy who can't find love, so he goes to a magic woman who brews him up a love potion No. 9 so he can go and find love. And it's such a weird song. He ends up he can't control himself. He's kissing everything, lampposts, all sorts of stuff. And it's not until a policeman comes along and smashes the bottle that he's free from it. Yeah. That is a weird fucking song.
Okay.
Do you know what's weirder? They made it into a film. That song, they made it into a film.
How?
Well, Sandra Bullock, 1992, film called Love Potion No. 9. It's about two super nerdy scientists who are hella intelligent, do loads and loads of things, understand stuff, but they're socially inept, and they make Sandra Bullock look, in the very 90s way that if a woman wasn't attractive, you've ruffled up her hair a bit and you've made her wear a pair of glasses, that sort of thing. So therefore, she's not attractive.
Yeah,
obviously. They cannot find love. Then they make this kind of chemical thing that also inappropriately they test on animals. Which makes the wearer of it irresistible if they speak.
Right.
And the person they speak to becomes infatuated with them and can't live without them, sort of thing. Now, I have not watched this film. I understand that the ultimate premise is that they end up by realising that actually they love each other.
Okay, of course.
But the trailer makes it look like her and her male equivalent are basically just super horny, can't get any, and so just shag anything they can once they've worked out how to make this potion.
Great.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's not positive. So yeah, I think in a sense your earlier summation was quite correct. Music is not really the positive world for magic and witchcraft and spellcasting.
Nope.
But it is everywhere, and it's a good crutch to lean on for writing about love in a way, a metaphor for love. That said, it was also used, and I appreciate I am still rambling, but I don't want people to think it's only about love. Bruce Springsteen did a song called Magic, and it's not set up to be about magic as you and I would think about it. It's about magic circle kind of magic, card tricks and coins and rabbits out of hats and things like that. And
David Copperfield shit.
Exactly.
Right.
Those kind of things are in the lyrics. But it is about deception. Excuse me. It's about deception. People saying one thing, meaning another, lying, that sort of stuff, and how people in power use that as a tool. And a lot of people interpret it as being a protest song against the Iraq war. So it's not all
That's a
love.
long walk, isn't it, to come to that conclusion? The Iraq war.
Not when you listen to
Okay, fair enough.
the ending is less about magic tricks and hey, who knew you had a pound coin behind your ear?
The Isle of Fisher movie.
And it's more about bodies and stuff like that.
Okay.
It takes a turn. So
Okay.
So there's my brief run through magic and spells and witches and the like in popular music from the 40s and 50s onwards.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But yeah, feel free to Google and come up with your own list. There are playlists on Spotify which have varying degrees of magic stuff in them, how genuinely about magic they are and stuff. And there are lots that have, it's just got the word magic in the title, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Please do join in, come back on some of this.
I was enjoying that TED talk.
Yeah, thank you.
On the top 10.
I'm here in a fortnight talking about something else.
Listicle. This episode does seem very listicle.
Number 7 will really shock you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I summarised it as being the music industry co-opting magic, much like films and
Everyone
telly
else
have co-opted magic, and they've really brought it into the mainstream, except this time we're not watching it on the telly box, we're listening to it in our cars or whatever. And then with the exception of Stevie Nicks, all witches are bad, and but which I guess mirrors lots of the other mainstream representations in pop culture of magic, witches, women, in that women with power, women who like to think for themselves, women who want to help other people. Oh, you must be bad. Yeah.
She's a witch. Burn her.
And we talked before, well, kind of briefly in, I can't remember what we called it, the one about questions, or the one where we answer some questions. I can't remember. It was in last season.
Listeners sent in questions, which listeners can still do.
Yeah, feel free. So we talked about love spells specifically in that episode, where we talked about love spells that go wrong. Yes, love spells are real, but you really have to draw on your own ethics, your own sense of right and wrong, your own values in order to work with love spells. And I would have urged Nina Simone to just let it go.
Chill your boots.
Yeah, just let that prick go.
Yeah,
it's
music doesn't think about its ethics, and it's
it doesn't.
and it's it's all about just fuck it. I'm going to put a spell on you.
Yeah, it seems to be. So poor Nina. thought that she couldn't do any better than this jerk, and her only answer was to put a spell on him. It's the only way to keep him. No, Nina, you can do better.
What I would say, though, messaging aside, a lot of these songs are really good. Like, really good.
I'm sure they are. But yeah, it's much like the Hollywood, even books, I suppose, to a certain extent as well, although I don't read books. I know you read.
mean this collection of football books over your shoulder is not yours?
This bric-a-brac.
This bric-a-brac.
Yeah, no, this bric-a-brac is not mine. You know the kinds of books I read. They're not story books.
No, they're
information books. Information books.
Yeah, people can see over our shoulders.
Pile of information
books about magical things, grimoires and the
like. Exactly.
Peppered with some sciencey stuff as well.
Yeah, so I do read a lot of grimoires, but I am given to understand that some people like to use their imaginations and write about witches and magic in a paperback, and people can read it and consume magic that way. It is very much in the mainstream.
It is, but I would say, no, obviously I haven't read every book.
I think you have.
I'm trying, but I haven't read every book. But I would say that the depiction of magic and witches, spellcraft and the like in popular literature these days, particularly in young adult literature, is much more positive than it was before. It's not fighting against an evil witch. It's the witch is the good guy, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's as it should be.
And a lot of people retell classic fairy stories to kind of make the previous magical bad person actually be the hero or the heroine, or at least put them in a much more positive light or greater context to why they are who they are.
Is this about Frozen again?
It's not about Frozen. It's not about Frozen. I was just thinking, no, generally, like, you know, like stories like Hansel and Gretel and things like that, people retell them, and where the witch was always nefarious and terrible and out to get children is actually, no, this is a different story to be told here, and it's not how we've come to know it, that sort of thing. And that happens. There's a lot of people do that sort of thing. I mean, Wicked, for example, is a. I mean, I've not seen it yet, but is the prequel to The Wizard of Oz and sets greater context around who the witches are and why they are, and presumably makes the wicked witches sympathetic characters and stuff. And I know you don't like your evil people to have tragic backstories that make us sympathise for them, but that's kind of where we are. But magic, in a sense, in general, and fantasy and that sort of thing, is, as you say, becoming much more mainstream. Much more mainstream.
I think it's probably still got a long way to go in that, you know, I would love to have more magical tools in, like, the corporate world, for example. Still working on it. Still working on being able to give my board a tarot card reading. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Just as a side conversation, I brought this up with my project manager. Wouldn't it be good if we all just did each other's astral charts? You should have seen his like squirming in the chair going, oh no, oh, just pull on my collar. How do I say no without offending her?
I think my internet's really bad. I didn't quite hear that.
So there's certainly a long way to go to breaking down some of those unconscious / totally conscious biases that some people do have.
Yeah. And I think as well, when we say it's in the mainstream, we don't mean in totality. It's like sanitized, acceptable versions in the mainstream. So like I was in HMV the other day, and other music and video type retailers are available.
Are they?
I don't know anymore, to be honest.
I think they are, you know.
That was not said with any great confidence. But they had a section for witchcraft, for spells and stuff like that, and it was
in a shop that primarily sells CDs.
Well, I think they kind of, I don't know if this is how they're keeping themselves afloat, is that they are drilling into slightly more niche markets, because there was a lot more anime stuff and a lot more Japanese culture type stuff in there as well, rather than just a lot more vinyl.
Are you sure you were in HMV?
Absolutely. But they had things like tarot cards. They had witch's cauldron tea light holders. They had coffin-shaped shelf unit things. Not like big shelves, but things you'd mount on the wall to put trinkets and bric-a-brac and things like that in.
Okay.
So they had, in fact, I did take a picture, so let me just see what else was in it.
Can I just provide context to
candles,
our viewers and listeners?
Ouija
At the
boards.
time of recording, because we bulk record, but we are recording this in July.
Yeah.
So this display...
This is not Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not Halloween.
So with the Ouija boards and the candles...
No.
And it's not because retailers are crazy ahead of schedules either.
No, the section's called Spellbound. It's got notebooks and stuff in that they call Book of Shadows, Book of Spirits, Tarot Spell Book, The History of Goth. Like I said, Ouija boards, planches to go around Ouija boards, water bottles with spiders' webs and things on it, which does feel a lot more... Halloweeny. Fortune telling mugs.
No idea. It tells your fortune?
No idea.
Okay.
But different mugs with different types of witchy type things on.
I think I have that in black.
Yeah. The one that says White Witch.
No, mine says something else.
It's like Witch's Brew or something.
Witch's Brew. Yeah.
Yeah. So Witch's Brew mugs, Wizard's Brew mugs, all sorts. Bat shaped tea light holder things. So that's
an incense burner.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Anyway.
Those are the coffin-shaped trinkety things.
This is transferring really well on audio. I'll put it in the video. Don't worry about it. I'll put it in the video. But yeah, for the purposes of our audio listeners.
Yeah, there's just a big display.
You felt compelled to take this photo to...
It's bloody HMV.
It's HMV. Were you shocked? Were you horrified? What were your emotions?
I was quite pleased, actually, that there's stuff out there and it's more available. It's not something that people won't... It's not that people look at it... people will always look at it with scepticism, but it's more that people would look at it as something that if you were interested in it, they should be worried about you. You know what I mean? So like, oh God, she's getting into witchcraft stuff and spellsy things and stuff like that. And I'm not sure.
No, I mean,
Let's
I know
conjure a demon.
There are parts of the world where underneath beds there'll be pornographic magazines and tarot cards. Hidden away from worried parents.
Yeah.
Not under my bed, though.
Best move them if you know where they are.
But the fact that you were in such a, what do you call it, like a mainstream, high street, that's
high
the
street.
word I'm
You
looking
can't
for.
get much more mainstream than HMV.
Shop. And, you were just there and it was just out and proud, as it were.
Like, it's not Halloween stuff.
Not in the weirdy-beardy shop in the corner of the market where you might ordinarily go to get your incense sticks and your tarot cards.
That dusty door that is there when you need it, but then when you look away, it's gone.
Exactly. Yeah, well, in the town I grew up in, those kind of shops where you would buy crystals and, your tassel-y skirts and your bags with mirrors on it and stuff. I was a teenager in the 90s, just for context. Those kind of shops were hidden away underneath the railway station in a little boutique place, and it was called the Dark Arches. I imagine in the 1800s it's probably where you went looking for certain opium and the services of a woman perhaps, but when it got to the 1990s it was where you had all your sort of offbeat shops and your boutique shops and the places where you could go get your crystals and your tarot cards and all of that stuff.
It's called counterculture these days. But yeah.
But now you're saying it's just culture.
Just culture, yeah.
So it's in the mainstream.
It's in the mainstream. It's just, yeah.
And are you pleased? Do you feel part of it, being on the podcast called That Magic Podcast? Do you feel like you're part of it? Like 1,000 questions all firing at you now. Is it, you were talking about confirmation, or I was talking about confirmation bias last time, but do you think it's confirmation bias? Is this just something you are noticing by virtue of being on a show like this? Do you just see it more?
No, I don't think so. It was not been in HMV before.
Mm-hmm.
They've had like tote bags and stuff in recent years, but there's not been a display, that sort of thing.
Like a big get your spell candles here.
Exactly.
Right.
And like you said, things like that, they've always been in bookshops, and even mainstream bookshops like Waterstones, for example, but they have been tucked away in a small corner of the shop.
Usually in the mind, body, spirit, religion section.
Exactly.
There might be one book.
Exactly. So I don't think it's just that I'm on the podcast, so I'm noticing it, whereas it would have been there before. I genuinely think it's becoming more acceptable. But like I said, it's a sanitized version. It's not, here are some jars to put your herbs and stuff in. It's not, here is an explanation of when the moon is in certain areas, it means this, and this is the best time for you to go and do your bits and pieces.
Yeah,
it's not
to that
here
level.
are the different types of witch you could be.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing. It's an acceptable to Western culture, sanitized version of it. It's a notebook. Yeah, it's got Book of Shadows on it, but it doesn't mean you're going to write stuff in it like that. It's not the Charmed One's Book of Shadows, for example.
Which is, as we've discussed, which is
Book of Shadows.
It's just the A to Z.
Yeah.
It's just the yellow pages of demons.
Yeah, and I never understood why the answer was always right in the middle of the book.
It always is. It's like 3 flicks. There we go. This is the one.
Oh God, we're never going to find. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
You
just reminded me of that scene in Supernatural, actually, which is a show I know you love.
Supernatural, never heard of it.
Supernatural, I know. So where Sam is looking for Rowena's spells, her big spell book, and he's in her apartment, and he's just looking around, and there's like on the surface of her, her desk and stuff, there is just like a pack of tarot cards. There is like a grimoire, and he just picks it up, flicks through it, and goes, this is all the easy stuff. Where's the real magic? Where's the real magic that she would be practicing? And so that's the way you've just described that HMV. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is all very clean.
Yeah, where's the real stuff?
Where's the real stuff?
Where's the dirty stuff? Come on. Yeah. Where's the shit that's going to get me in trouble?
Where are all the sigils?
Yeah, exactly.
No sigils.
No sigils. Candles, yeah, but fine.
But we're not going to conjure a demon by using their @ symbol.
No, exactly. That sort of thing.
Maybe HMV is just not ready for it.
Maybe.
Yeah, but if people listening are ready for it, we've got the one about seals and sigils.
Yeah. And there's so much stuff on the website as well.
Yeah, there is.
Loads of stuff.
I would actively encourage people to move away. Go to magentaschoolofmagic.com, magic with a K, and subscribe, sign up. You get good stuff straight to your inbox 3 times a week.
And subscription is free.
Of course it is.
Obviously.
Of course it is free.
All right. So, in conclusion, pop music loves magic, but it loves magic to make it about love.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally speaking.
And we're still not ready, apart from Stevie Nicks.
And that Godspeed dude who was not singing about voodoo but called his song Voodoo. That was magical stuff.
Okay.
The Wiccan dude with the high priestess in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, apart from Stevie Nicks, magic in music still about women are evil, and perhaps more songs should be more embracing of the witch in the community, I would say. Cool.
Like, I put a spell on you and now
so.
your warts have all gone.
Or I put a spell on you and did so with your full consent. Look, here's the disclaimer that you signed.
And knowledge. And it was mostly because you have a fungal infection on your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for anything untoward.
Yeah, it wasn't nefarious.
No.
Not at all.
Exactly. We cast a spell together.
Yes.
To help you manifest change in your life.
Think of me as your consultant.
Exactly. I'm your magical consultant.
Why are they old?
Why did you hear an old person's voice?
I've got old people ears.
You're saying I'm old.
So
Channeling Axl Rose at his Glastonbury performance.
Yeah, how old is Axl?
I don't know, but a lot of people have made the point that when he was singing, I think it was Sweet Child of Mine, he sounded very much like Herbert the Pervert from Family Guy. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Yeah, perhaps he should retire some of his songs.
Never mind.
So Magick has definitely made its way into the mainstream.
I think from a music perspective, it has always been there.
Yeah, and in the TV world, they're getting into the books, comics, obviously. We just need to push it that bit further now and get it into corporate. What I want is a bunch of lawyers sitting around the table with some astral charts, working out the best time to take a case to court. And then I will feel like my work is done.
Doing a Ouija board to determine whether someone's guilty or not.
Exactly.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Haven't there been shows like that?
Charmed did an episode.
No, there's been dedicated shows like where there's been someone who taps into the mystical or seance-y type stuff to determine what's going on. I can't remember. I'm going to have to look this up now.
Do you mean proper genuine shows or shows that come with a script? Like, do you mean like these non-scripted?
No, yeah, fiction, scripted drama.
Right.
Yeah, but there have been...
Not Judge Judy?
No.
Right.
Because that's not scripted. No, I don't mean like...
These people have real legal problems.
I don't mean you're like your Yvette Fielding type thing.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Actual scripted dramas where the premise is someone can tap into another realm to help them find out what's going on in a case, that sort of thing.
Medium with one of the Arquettes.
I think there was a show called Medium. Yeah.
There's what's her name Arquette. I know there's like 1,000 Arquettes.
Yes.
It was one of the lady ones.
Okay.
That was in it.
I'll have to look stuff up because I'm sure there've been other shows and things like that. But and then that might be the one I'm thinking.
In the 80s, there was Highway to Heaven, where an angel would come down and it'd be like help a family for a week, like The Littlest Hobo, but it's not a dog, it's an angel. There was that.
Wouldn't trust it. Supernatural is coloured my view of angels.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, that's when I would feel like my work is done. In the more.
It's just super mainstream.
Yeah, get it in corporate.
Positive, and corporate environments are using it.
Fully accepting.
Groovy.
Yeah. All right. That's it. That's our show. Subscribe to our website to receive free articles, downloadable spells, and guided meditations. Start your magical tuition today at magentaschoolofmagic.com.